Beyond the buzzer, inside the game, this is Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
This is the Sports IQ. Glad you're with us here on this Thursday. It's September 4th. Hard to believe that we're already past August, past summer for the most part. I guess legally, officially, in a couple more weeks, but we're getting there. Lots to talk about here coming up. Tom Kakert, our friend from HawkeyeReport.com, joining us here in a bit. As we mentioned on yesterday's show, obviously we'll talk about this weekend's big rivalry, Iowa taking on number 16 Iowa State, but also we'll get his thoughts on the late George Raveling, the former Iowa coach, and we will talk with him about that as well. Lots coming up. By the way, of course, the NFL kicks off tonight. Do you think NBC is not invested in the NFL? They sent Tom Llamas, the nightly news. They did nightly news live from Philly yesterday and then had an hour-long live show last night at 10 o'clock Eastern right before local news. And I'm like, wow, it's one thing to do NFL, but you guys are really, really going. And then I think I saw where tonight their pregame begins like at 7. Like they've got like a 90-minute pregame for this. But you know what? You will watch because it's NFL. There are advertisements sold, and that's why they're doing it, because somebody is paying them to do it. So you know what? God bless everybody a part of this. It's NFL season's here, and we love it. All right, we've got a lot to talk about, so let's get to it here in this hour. Let's start off with some baseball news right now. The AL East continues to be the most interesting division race. Toronto took Dr. Longball for a ride yesterday against the Reds after falling behind 5-0 at the end of the second. Toronto blasting 5 deep shots off Reds pitchers, including number 27 for George Springer, number 22 for Vlad Guerrero, on the way to a 13-9 come-from-behind victory. The Jays picked up a game on both the Yankees and Red Sox in the East. In Houston, Taylor Trammell worked a bases-loaded walk to score the go-ahead run as part of a 4-run eighth inning. The Astros rally for an 8-7 win over the Yankees. By the way, both manager Aaron Boone and reliever Devin Williams got the heave-ho from the game for arguing balls and strikes in that 8th inning meltdown. It just really all came apart. The Red Sox also falling Wednesday evening. Gabe Arias had a 2-run homer that was part of a 6-run second inning. The visiting Guardians avoiding the sweep in Beantown with an 8-7 win. Rookie left-hander Joey Cantillo got the win as he pitched 6 impressive innings, giving up 1 run on 5 hits and 2 walks with 7 strikeouts. Seattle happy to be leaving the state of Florida today. Yandy Diaz had a career-high 5 hits to lead Tampa Bay to the 9-4 win over the Mariners as they complete a 3-game series sweep. Don't count the Rays out of the playoffs just yet. With this win, Tampa Bay now 2.5 games out of the last American League wild card spot with about 3 weeks to go. So 4 weeks to go or so. So hang in there. Watch out for the Rays. Seattle, on the other hand, trending in a very bad meme on Facebook. Down. Seattle has lost 5 of 6, 14 of their last 20. Not the way to go. Ugh. Seattle, on the other hand, meanwhile, the top 2 contenders in the NL East both took it on the chin Wednesday night. The division-leading Phillies dropping the 6-3 decision to the NL Central-leading Brewers. Isaac Collins with a 3-run blast from Milwaukee, who also got a quality start from Jose Quintana. He pitched 6 1/3 innings, giving up 3 runs on his way to his 11th win of the season. By the way, the Brewers increased their Central Division lead to 6 games over the Cubs, who lost 5-1 to Atlanta. The Mets, meanwhile, lost to the Tigers 6-2. Kerry Carpenter leading the offense with a 3-run blast, and starter Casey Mize pitched 5 innings, giving up just 1 run on his way to his 13th win of the season. In the NL West, really nothing new. Dodgers dropped a 3-0 decision to the Pirates, while San Diego lost another one to the visiting Orioles 7-5. Think about this stat for a second. The Pirates, who right now stand at just 63-77 on the season, tossed their 17th shutout of the season, which leads the majors. 17 shutouts out of your 63 wins. Pittsburgh fans will spend this offseason wondering just what might have been this year had the team had any semblance of an offense. It is just, it's crazy. Okay, tennis, U.S. Open now has its semifinals set with the ladies going at it today. The men taking center stage on Friday. For the women, 2-time U.S. Open champ Naomi Osaka defeated an injured Karolina Muchova. That sets up a semifinal with Amanda Anisimova, who swept through her match and gained a slice of revenge on her Wimbledon final, thrashing back in July as she lost that Wimbledon final to Iga Swiatek Six love, six love. She was the first person to lose a Wimbledon final in that fashion since 1911. The schedule for tonight, American Jessica Pegula taking on Arina Sabalenka at 7 on Arthur Ashe Court, followed by the Osaka Anisimova match. Should the two Americans win it, it'll be the first All-American finals at the U.S. Open since 2002, when young Serena Williams met big sister Venus for the title. And we all sat and watched that. It was must-see TV. On the men's side of the draw, defending champion Jannik Sinner, he beat compatriot Lorenzo Musetti in straight sets, 6-1, 6-4, 6-2 to advance to the semifinals. And so Sinner now moves on to the semis, looking to become the first man to repeat at Wimbledon since Roger Federer won 5 straight from 2004 to 2008. By the way, the other men's semifinal we talked about before, Novak Djokovic taking on Carlos Alcaraz. Okay, we mentioned the NFL. Yes, it kicks off tonight. The Super Bowl champion Eagles hosting Dallas in prime time on NBC. Can the Eagles be as good as last year? And will the Dallas defense stand tall without Micah Parsons, or will they fold like a cheap suit against Barkley, Hurts, and all those Philly weapons? We will find out. Speaking of cheap suits, Giorgio Armani, no cheap suits. Passes away at age 91. Strange place, I know, to put an obit, but I tried it. Maybe it didn't work out well, but it's a sports show. Anyway, rest in peace. Okay, a little more NFL news. The Niners open their season Sunday at Seattle. One player going into the contest with a bigger smile is wide receiver Juwan Jennings. He's agreed to a restructure deal. This is according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. Jennings, who missed a big part of training camp with a calf injury, had been trying to get a new deal from the team, even requested a trade at one point in the offseason. Now, this new contract doesn't come with any extra guaranteed money, but it does give him the opportunity to put an additional $3 million in his pocket on top of his $7.5 million salary, with a lot of incentives for playing time, et cetera. Look, he was the Niners' most productive receiver last year. I think it was 77 catches he had in 2024. He's a big part of their offense, but he now will become an unrestricted free agent next March. So we'll see what happens with Juwan Jennings, the former high school quarterback out of Nashville, who became a receiver at Tennessee and now big time in San Francisco. Big news off the court Wednesday in the NBA. We didn't quite get a chance to get to this yesterday. The league looking into allegations against the LA Clippers that they circumvented the salary cap by setting Kawhi Leonard up with a job that he did not have to show up for and a salary of $28 million. Anybody watching the old 30 for 30s about how the old Southwest Conference did business? You know, the Pony Excess. If you haven't seen it, watch it tonight. It's crazy. Even, that happened back in the 80s. 40 years later, it's still crazy. So according to investigative journalist Pablo Torre, there's a company, a tree company called Aspiration, was going to pay Leonard $28 million in cash between 2022 and 2025, as long as he was playing for the Clippers. A former employee in the finance department said on Torre's podcast that Leonard's deal was, quote, to circumvent the salary cap. The Clippers, in a statement released on Wednesday night, strongly denied the claims, quote, neither the Clippers nor owner Steve Ballmer circumvented the salary cap, end quote. The Clippers wrote in a statement. They continued, the notion that Steve invested in Aspiration in order to funnel money to Kawhi Leonard is absurd. Steve invested because Aspiration's co-founders presented themselves as committed to doing right by their customers while protecting the environment, end quote. This could get very interesting. Again, by the way, we should say Aspiration, again, a tree company, they filed bankruptcy, and so that's how some of this stuff kind of came to light. Great work there by Pablo Torre. We'll see what happens. And, of course, the question many people reading this and the talk around the proverbial water cooler is, has this happened before somewhere else? Is it even possible? So, by the way, Kawhi Leonard's, if you look up his salary, strangely set up. He makes exactly $50 million this year, and next year makes $50.3 million. So where guys on that level are getting, pay raises of $3 and $4 million, each year, he gets a pay raise of $300,000. Strange. It's just straight on paper. It's strange. Look, I'm not saying. I'm just saying it's strange. It's kind of, just go look it up and which one of these is not like the other. We'll see what happens there. Okay, on the course, the WNBA, we'll have a longer conversation about the W, but later here in the show as they wind down the regular season. 1 week from tonight, the regular season ends. Our final show on ION is tomorrow night. But on Wednesday, Ryan Howard with 19 points, Bree Jones 16 points, 13 rebounds for her 12th double-double of the season. Atlanta beating LA 86-75 to move into sole possession of second place over the idle Las Vegas and Phoenix teams in the WNBA standings. Atlanta now 27-14, has won 5 of its last 6, and again a half game again of the other two, ahead of the other two, with now 3 regular season games remaining. The Dream, by the way, play L.A. again on Friday, followed by a 2-game series with Connecticut to end the season. Angel Reese, 18 points, 13 rebounds for 23rd double-double this season. Camila Cardoso scored 16 points. Chicago beating Connecticut 88-64 to snap a 4-game losing streak. Again, we'll have a chat with producer Tony a bit later about the W, including some comments from Angel Reese a bit later in the show. We should mention, during that game, late in the second quarter, Angel Reese committed her 8th technical of the season. You're only allowed 7. That means that she, by rules, will be suspended for tomorrow night's game on Ion, Chicago at Indiana. That's the early game. We'll see if she can get it rescinded by the league in time to play. I don't know. If you already had 7, I don't have to let you, take away the 8th. We'll see what happens. But anyway, that conversation is coming up. By the way, again, still joining us in just a moment here is Tom Kakert. We'll talk with him and more conversation overall. Big sports weekend coming up here. We'll talk more about that as we take a quick break and more conversation to come here on the Sports IQ.
Fans of big sports radio and sports spectacular podcasts have a new home on the Chief Sports Network. Find your favorite programs and content all in one place by downloading the Chief Sports app in your mobile device. Created in South Carolina, the Chief Sports Network is the home of an expanding network of live and podcast format programming. It is also the home of one of the leading national college football podcasts, JC and Morgan, hosted by ESPN's Mike Morgan and 24/7 Sports' JC Sherbert. Download the Chief Sports app for free and find all of your favorite programming under one easy umbrella. Thanks to all of our markets for your loyal support of Big Sports Radio and our Sports Spectacular podcast, and we look forward to connecting with you anywhere in the world on the Chief Sports app.
You're listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Welcome back here to the show. Producer Tony joining us now as we talk. Tony, the end of the baseball season. And again, not the end, but we're getting down to the nitty-gritty where every game counts. And it's crazy. We say once again, our friend Matt Snyder of CBSSports.com told us back in July, this is going to be nuts coming down to the end. And it is. It's interesting to see, in particular, how the NL West and the AL East, the leaders just can't shake the teams behind them.
No, it's been an interesting run here. The Red Sox quietly since July have been the best team in the American League, right? So they've gained ground. But as they get closer, then they seem to trip up against some minor teams. They lose Roman Anthony, who's headed to his little stint on the disabled list. That's going to set their offense back a little bit. But the team should be able to overcome that. I'm looking to see how these 3 teams finish down that stretch. I think the Yankees probably have the best offense. I think the Blue Jays have the best pitching. The Red Sox seem to have the best rounded team of all of them, although their bullpen lately has been a little suspect. So that's going to be their Achilles heel. How they each manage to navigate these final 3 weeks is going to be pretty interesting to see who is in the wild card, who's the division winner, who's getting a little bit of rest, who's got to play the extra games. It's just been a wild year. Toronto has at least 5, maybe 6 players now in double figures in home runs. Yeah. So, they're a really balanced club, and they don't get a lot of national love around the baseball coverage. Everybody is talking Dodgers, talking Yankees, talking Phillies, talking Mets, talking Astros. Quietly, the Blue Jays may be sneaking up on a lot of people for some fun times in October north of the border.
Yeah, and if you like souvenirs, be sure to get an outfield seat at Yankee Stadium this week because the Blue Jays visit the Yankees in the final 3-game series that they will have. Like I said, both teams just love the long ball, and so that'll be a lot of fun if you do like home runs. And you think about it for Toronto, it's the one leader that we talked before about, earlier that we kind of looked at a couple teams' schedules, how some of these teams don't don't get a chance to play. Some of these teams chasing leaders don't play them down the stretch. Like they've got to kind of count on somebody else to beat those guys while you're winning as well. Not the case though in the East. They've got the Blue Jays are at New York for 3 here this weekend. They take on AL West leading Houston at home after that. Then they've got Tampa Bay for 4 games down in Florida. Here starting a week from Monday. Of course, we just mentioned the Rays, a team to watch for the wild card. 3 games at Kansas City, and then back home for 3 against Boston, and then 3 more against Tampa. So, I mean, if Toronto comes out, if they can win the East, they will have earned it because they have one of the tougher finishing stretches. They're playing contenders all the way through, with the exception of the 3-game series against Baltimore.
Yeah, and the Orioles really have quietly brought up a number of prospects that they hope will help them next year, including some of a couple of their young arms, seeing what they've got, seeing what they can make do. And, Larry, that's kind of an interesting point. Some of these teams have brought up these rookies here in August and September to help them out. You wonder what they might have been done if they could have brought them up for the whole season. But a lot of that is still around this. How many days can I bring you up and not have you get a year of service under your belt so that I can keep you for that 5th year and control you a little longer? It's just sad that it kind of works out that way because, if you're a Mets fan, you'd like to know what these 2 rookies might have been able to do since May. Maybe they gave them April to work out some kinks down in the minor leagues and then brought them up. But instead you waited. Everybody says, well, because we didn't need them. We did. Look, we all know what's behind this. We all know the driving factor with rookies in Major League Baseball right now is how can I get that 5th year and then get a half year the year before and still have 5 full years of control with these players.
Yeah, exactly. And it's that's the business side of it, that you're going, I don't know. I miss the days of having the newspaper, picking up the box scores and seeing what everybody did and what the kid did. We still can do that now, just it's on our phone or on our laptop kind of thing. But right. You're exactly right. The Central, it looks like, again, it's only a miracle would keep Detroit from winning the Central. But in the West right now, we talked about Seattle's free fall. That's helped the Astros put a little 4-game gap there and giving them some advantage here heading into the stretch.
Yeah, and you would have thought if Houston could have played better the last couple of weeks, they might have been able to put Seattle in the rearview mirror at this point, giving themselves some time to rest up and get ready for the postseason. I thought it was interesting. We didn't really get a chance to talk about it. There was a pitch the other night. The Astro catcher shook off Framber Valdez and tried to get him to leave the mound on a game with the Yankees. Well, Valdez didn't, and the next pitch wound up being a big homer to the Yankees, which gave them the lead. And Valdez didn't look happy. His next pitch hit his catcher in the chest. He threw something the catcher wasn't expecting. Now, Valdez claims that it wasn't intentional, but looking at the video, it sure looked intentional to me because you could see the look on the catcher's face like, dude, what are you doing? What is going on out there? So you got to wonder that Astros clubhouse has always been an interesting dynamic in there for a lot of different reasons. So you got to wonder what's going on in Houston to see if they can make another September run, October run like they've been doing the past few years.
Yeah, we talked about schedule wise and what Houston has. You're right. You look at the entire American League, and again going back to what Matt put out a few weeks ago, how even things are. There's no team right now in the American League that's over 600. I mean, the Tigers running away with it. They've come back. The thing is, Cleveland's almost 500. They're 10 games back. So they haven't taken advantage of Detroit cooling off here in the dog days. And so as a result, yeah, it is very competitive. The Astros have tonight's game at home against New York. They've got, again, they go to Toronto for 3 we mentioned next week. And then they do have to play Seattle. They host them for 3 games later on in September. And so really, if you're the Mariners, you've got to play well, and that's a chance right there. You can't catch them if you can stay within striking distance there here in the next several days.
Yeah, they've got to right the ship, and to right that ship, they've got to get some better pitching. Their starting pitching has been letting them down, and the offense has not been able to come through with those timely hitting the way they were doing in June and July when they were kind of getting the ball rolling there in Seattle. So they've got a little bit of work to do. It's been a rough patch since the All-Star break. Mariners have not looked the best. in that American League at all.
Yeah. Meanwhile, over in the National League in the East, we're watching. Obviously, the Phillies still have one more game today against Milwaukee, and then next week the 4-game series beginning on Monday at Citi Field. They're in Queens against the Mets, and that really, I mean, it won't determine the standings, the winner in this, but it'll go a long way right now in terms of seeing who's going to have. Can the Phillies put them away, or will they allow the Mets to get a little closer? Philly does have to go out to L.A. and play the Dodgers later. That's another key series for them. But really, those 4 games next week, that may tell us a lot about who's going to come out of the East.
Yeah, this is the Mets' last big chance to make up ground in that East to see if they can close to make it a 1 or 2 game thing down the last couple weeks of the season. And one of the factors I'm watching in that series and with the Phillies overall, look, losing Zach Wheeler hurts Philadelphia. There's no other way around it. He was their best starting pitcher. He was their ace. Going out and getting Walker Buehler, it depends on what you get. And I'm interested to see how he reacts going back to the National League. Look, Walker Buehler before the injuries was one of the best pitchers in the National League. The Dodgers kind of babied him along. They never let him get too many innings under his belt because they had some injury concerns about him, the way he threw the ball. So if he can come back, I want to see him get a few starts and see what he does with the Phillies, because he could be kind of like a little secret weapon for Philadelphia down the stretch here if he's got something left in the tank to make him the pitcher he was 4 or 5 seasons ago.
Yeah, absolutely. The other 2 divisions, the Brewers and Cubs in the Central, the Dodgers and Padres in the West, those teams don't play each other the rest of the way. I mean, it is, if the Cubs are going to catch the Brewers, it seems unlikely right now. Kind of put them in as the top wild card team. They have to do it again with some help elsewhere. They're going into today 6 games back. And then in the West, again, the Dodgers and Padres, like you said, just like with Houston, the Dodgers could have put San Diego away, but these 2 teams just keep kind of, trading wins and losses. And as a result, it's only a 2.5 game spread there in the West.
Yeah, you've seen teams spend, like the Dodgers spend a ton of money. The Padres have spent a ton of money in free agency to get where they are at. But spending all that money still leaves you holes on your roster if you can't develop young players and bring them up in a timely manner. The Dodgers pitching, because of a lot of injuries, and I get it, and their bullpen has not been a good cornerstone for them this season. They've been living and dying kind of with that offense. So how it plays out in October and late September is going to be really interesting to see. And like I said, the Padres have been there. They've had their chance. They get close. They take 2 out of 3 that first series they had with the Dodgers, but then they go and give it back the next week by giving up 2 out of 3. Right. So it winds up being a wash. You don't gain anything. We'll see what they can come up with down the stretcher. But there isn't a dominant team this year in baseball, so that when we hit October, it should be a free-for-all. It really should. I mean, you can talk about the Tigers and how they looked early. You can talk about the Jays, how they've led the East for the last 2 months. You can talk about Milwaukee, who was the best team in baseball for a 9-week stretch. Maybe the Phillies, maybe the Dodgers. But when it all comes together, baseball has become kind of like the NFL. How are the injuries stacking up, and how is your health holding out when you get to playoff time?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Speaking of NFL, we mentioned again, it kicks off tonight. Cowboys at the Eagles. It'll be rocking in Philly, Super Bowl champs. We talked earlier that even NBC came in days early, right? I mean, it's the coverage is just crazy for a regular season game. But Philly tonight, it's the Chiefs and Chargers down in Brazil. Friday night, that game is on YouTube. Again, talking about the NFL wanting to expand to, they're saying not yet, but probably when this CBA ends in 2030. That may happen then. Talking about expanding the number of international games as well. Listen, the NFL just prints money, and they find ways to print even more money year in, year out. The Eagles, do they have what it takes to repeat as champions?
I can't doubt them going in. They draft as well as any team in the league.
Yeah.
If they have a hole, they find a way to fill it. And if you can fill it with a draft pick so that you've got them under a team-friendly contract for the first few years, you're in good shape. Yeah, they had to let a few people go on the defense. Sweat's going to be a little tough to replace. He brings a lot of pressure, which kind of helps some of the other guys be able to get to the quarterback. But I just don't see an issue. And I'm interested to see tonight what kind of team rolls out for Dallas. Is that defense without Micah Parsons because if they get up a ton of points, boy, the criticisms in Dallas are going to go right through the roof.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's going to be ugly. I know you are a Bills fan, so you'll be watching, but I'm watching for a different reason. Sunday night, the Ravens and Bills. The two teams have been denied greatness because of the Chiefs, and they're in their middle of their dynasty. But it feels like because the Chiefs, the way they won last year, they kind of found ways to win in the fourth quarter in so many games. The Magic ran out in the Super Bowl against Philly, where they just were completely outmatched. It feels like that there is a crack in the armor, right? And there's a chance for the Ravens or the Bills to come through, both with league MVP quarterbacks for both teams. This is a thrilling game, and what a way to kind of close out. I know you had the Monday night game, I know Vikings and Bears, but what a way to close out week one in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, as a Bills fan, a long-suffering Bills fan,
yes.
I'm interested to see what happens. I'm not sold on that offense. Look, they did not go out, to me, and really address their main issue, which is the wide receiver room for Buffalo is pedestrian at best. Yeah, yesterday they brought Gabe Davis back to the practice squad. Yippee. You're hoping Keon Coleman is better than he was last year when he was your first-round pick, and he, other than one or two games, did squadoosh. So, look, if they're not any better, Josh Allen can only carry that offense on his back for so long. And at some point, the back's going to give out. And when Allen gives out, the Buffalo team's going to give out. And I'm still not sold. I've had a lot of discussions with Buffalo Bills fans, other people around me who are Bills fans. I'm not sold on Sean McDermott being that coach that can get them over the hump. He just doesn't show me that he can get it done.
Is he kind of the like what Doug Collins was to the Bulls? He can get you to that point, but not over that point. In your opinion?
Exactly. That is exactly what he is. He's that coach that can get you that far, but he can't get you to make that final step. And Larry, one other thing I'm not happy about in the NFL really bummed me out when I saw this today. RedZone is going to have commercials.
Oh,
what is up with that? ESPN, Disney, what are you doing? I know you've bought in now. Look, RedZone was the perfect vehicle for those of us who want to have 6 hours straight of football.
Yeah.
No commercials, no interruptions, just action. And now you're taking that away. Come on, people.
Oh. That was a concern. That was the concern when that deal was announced was, wait a minute, okay, don't. And that's the thing. I mean, I heard so many times in the next 48 hours after that, don't change my RedZone. Don't change my RedZone. What are they doing? They're changing RedZone.
Exactly. Yeah, leave it alone. That is why people don't mind paying that $4 a month to have that channel, just to have it for football season. And now you're going to go and screw with it. Come on. Boy. Be better.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, on that note, we go to commercial. Tom Kakert of HawkeyeReport.com is up next.
You're locked in to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Let's continue now with a little college news. We're talking college football. Iowa State, the game every year. Love this matchup. I love when major teams, power teams from the same state get together. Iowa State, Texas A&M, USC UCLA. This is one of those on that level. Noon game, Eastern time on Fox. Iowa State coming in number 16. Tom Kakert, friend of the show, joining us from HawkeyeReport.com. Tom, good to see you.
You too.
Step away from football for just a minute and talk about a legend who passed away a couple days ago, George Raveling at age 88, former Iowa coach back in the 80s. And you were, telling us here in the break before we started that you were actually on campus when he was there.
Yeah, I was. It was my freshman year. Was his second year at the University of Iowa, and he had just brought in these great recruiting classes, and it was really amazing. I mean, B.J. Armstrong, Roy Marble, Kevin Gamble, Ed Horton, Bill Jones. He had brought in this just array of talent that Iowa hadn't seen really probably ever, and that was the springboard. He just never I think he would speak of it later that he just never felt comfortable in kind of the fishbowl that was Iowa City. A younger black man who was single in Iowa City, Iowa. Just it was a lot for him. I never came across him as a student, but later when I started covering recruiting, he was helping to run that the Nike events, the Nike All-American camp that was in Indianapolis every year. And I went over there, and one of my friends, Mac McCausland, knew George really well because he was broadcaster for the Iowa TV network at the time that was going statewide with all the games. Every game was on the Iowa network, and Mac introduced me to George. George is in there holding court, eating a big slab of ribs, and just holding court with talking to everybody and telling stories, and just one of the kindest men that you'll ever meet. Always had time for people, always had advice for people, and was always a great help to anyone who needed it. And just such a gift to the game of basketball that George Raveling was part of it. He made an impact on everybody that he was around.
Yeah. Producer Tony dug up a nugget for yesterday's show that we weren't aware of, that he was actually part of the security detail for MLK's Had a Dream speech. Ask him for the typewritten copy of his speech, and it's at the Smithsonian because of George Raveling. So not just a basketball guy, I mean, overall was somebody who clearly saw beyond the game, if you will, and had an eye on society.
Yeah, he was one of those guys that was really well read too, where he read a lot of books. It's like Phil Jackson would do that with his players, read a lot of books and say, hey, you should read this book. You should read. That's one of the things George would do too. So just just a massive impact on the game of basketball, college basketball in general, but just basketball as a whole. I mean, the Olympic assistant, they actually played that Olympic team played an exhibition game in Iowa City because of George Raveling. So, that was kind of one of those things that they would do. So it's just really impactful guy. And people in Iowa City still talk about him just because of the impact that that team had and the team that Tom Davis took to the cusp of the Final Four, made to the Elite Eight with that squad.
And that's amazing. 4 decades after he left Iowa City, that he still talked about in that regard. Just amazing. And by the way, that 84 team, for historians, the last all-collegiate team to win Olympic gold. 88 failed, and then 92 they brought in the pros, a dream team, and now the rest is history. So let's get to football now. Iowa State. Talk about these Hawkeyes right now. Some struggles in past years in offense, but Iowa always a team that everyone says, oh, they can't score, and oh, they can't do this, and they wind up with 8 or 9 wins at the end of the season.
Yeah, there's still a struggle at quarterback though, and that's been the talking point this week. Mark Gronowski came in from South Dakota State, and there were a lot of high expectations that he would come in and maybe solve this quarterback issue that they have had for really since 2019 when Nate Stanley graduated. And it hasn't, at least one game in, hasn't worked out that way. Really, it was a struggle for Gronowski in the first game. 8 of 15 for just 44 yards passing. Had a wide open receiver in the end zone from about 20 yards out and just threw it about 15 yards. And it was just like everybody was just like, oh no. And there's so much scar tissue for Iowa fans right now with the quarterback position and the struggles there, that this was like the last thing that they needed to see when the high dollar transfer portal pickup that they had just really didn't do well. So we wrote something for Wednesday. Our staff did. We do a staff question of the week about what's your kind of level of concern. 1 being like, I'm not concerned at all, and 10 being like nuclear hot concern of, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. And we had, I think everybody's kind of like a 5, but if he struggles again this week in Ames, it goes up to like a 9, I think. It's just, it's just one of those things, but where everybody is just really nervous about what the quarterback play is going to be.
Yeah, well, there's some PTSD going on there, like you said. It's just year in year out that it just can't. Why is it that this program with all the success, the critics, it was Brian Ferentz, and so they got rid of him. He's the coach's son, nepotism. Well, he's been gone a couple of years now, and yet this is still happening. What is it about quarterback that it's like the Bears in quarterback? No matter who you put in there, is something's going to happen. It's not going to be good.
Yeah, it is. As a Bears fan, I completely understand that. It is. I've longed for the days when the Bears would have like a franchise quarterback, like a Pat Mahomes or somebody like that could just be the steady rock for 10 years. And Iowa has had that same thing where they're just they had some huge recruiting misses, I think, in terms of the Brian Ferentz era, where they just missed on the guys. I mean, we were tracking, like somebody put together a list of those guys who transferred out at quarterback and just all the other positions. And like 2 of the guys that they recruited to play quarterback are now playing tight end at lower level schools. That just kind of tells you about misses. Sure. Yeah, it's just, it's not, that is not what you want to see happen. So, there was a period of time where Iowa felt like they were cursed at running back, where they were just every year there were like 3 running backs that would blow their ACL out or have high ankle sprains that kept them out, and you're down to like your 5th or 6th running back, and they call it the angry Iowa running back god thing or something. It was just they were just cursed, and I'm starting to wonder if the quarterback position is just cursed. We'll see what happens this week. Here's the fun stat that I like to throw out, Larry. They haven't had an individual throw for 2,000 yards, which is not a lot these days. No. Since Nate Stanley in 2019.
Wow, 2,000 yards.
2,000 yards. They have not had
it's even 200 a game. I mean,
they have not had a wide receiver catch more than 500 yards in passing since 2019, since Amir Smith-Marset and Tyrone Tracy, who's now a running back with the Giants. I mean, that's how kind of vacant the passing game has been. They got close last year with Jacob Gill, got 411 yards, but they've had some tight ends that got over 600 in that time, Sam Laporta and alike, those guys, TJ Hawkinson, guys like that, but they have not had much success. Wow. The football, it's just been a cursed position. Now, I will say the 2000 season, had it been a regular season, Spencer Petras probably gets over 2,000. Okay. But it was just because it was an abbreviated season. Yeah. He couldn't get there. Yeah. But boy, it's incredible. It really is that they have not had any level of success. And that's when he started, when Mark Gronowski started struggling, I just kind of thought, I think this thing is just cursed. I don't know what to say. And the other thing is they've got a stable of running backs this year, but there's no Caleb Johnson in that room. Mm-hmm. And Caleb Johnson kind of saved their bacon last year because he was just otherworldly, first team All-American level running back, and they don't have a guy like that walking through the door this year.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Iowa State coming off the big win over in Ireland over K-State to start the season. Huge rivalry here. Cyclones walking in, chest puffed out here. What do you see in this game? What does Iowa have to do to take them down and knock off their rival?
Yeah, it's a really tough contest on the offensive side for Iowa State. Rocco Becht is playing terrific football. Since that first half against K-State, he's been just lights out. I mean, that second half against the Wildcats, he was really good. And then South Dakota this past weekend, 19 of 20 for 278 yards and 3 TDs, I think. So he was just kind of on fire. Complete, and he likes to throw to. It's a lot like the old Iowa teams. He's throwing to his 2 big tight ends that are really tough matchups, and I'm a little concerned from an Iowa perspective how they're going to handle those 2 guys that are 6'6" behemoths that can go up and make plays. And Becht is a really accurate passer, So your coverage is going to have to be on point. The big thing for Iowa is they can't give up explosive plays. Last week, they gave up one explosive play, and it was on the drive that Albany scored their touchdown. There were only 7 points of the game. Phil Parker has a stat that and I can't remember the time frame of years, but he shared it with us this summer. When they give up 2 or fewer explosive plays, and he defines that as 25 yards or longer, they're 82-20. When they give up 3 or more, they're 22-20. So, and they give up about 28 points a game. So, that double the amount of points given up if you give up just 3 explosive plays or more. So
you bring in a psychiatrist to work with the defense just to kind of
put
those plays behind you.
Yeah, and Iowa just hasn't had a ton of success offensively against Iowa State. They run a 3-3-5. They've got a really dominant nose tackle in Dominic Orange, who's going to play on Sundays. They're going to play pretty aggressively, so it's going to be I think a real cat and mouse battle on Saturday between the D coordinators, trying to limit big plays, limit points on the scoreboard, and offenses trying to scratch out some points.
Wow. Okay. Well, good luck this year. Listen, we're hoping never.
Yeah.
No, I don't root for any one team or one coach or one player or whatever, but boy, I want Iowa quarterbacks just to find just some semblance of normalcy. Like not even be great. Just do the little things.
Yeah. I do too. It would just be such a nice thing to not have to worry about the meltdown over a quarterback position every week. But maybe we'll see. Gronowski's a tough Chicago area kid, so he's I think he's built for this. I've talking to him and talking to Coach Ferentz and talking to some people around the program. They felt like he handled what happened last week very well. So I think they feel like he's going to rebound from it. That it was just, you don't throw for 10,000 yards and 93 touchdowns at the FCS level and then forget how to play quarterback. You just don't.
Yeah.
It's not like he's this redshirt freshman that just got overwhelmed. He's a 5th-year senior that I think has the experience. And he won the Walter Payton Award at the FCS level, which is the Heisman for FCS. It's won 2 national titles. He played the Albany team they played him in the semifinals in 2023, and they beat him 59-0, South Dakota State, and he had a great day. So it's not like, he's stepping up in class, and they were playing Clemson or something. It's not like that. It's it was nerves, and now he's just got to calm down and make plays.
Yeah. The field's the same size it was last year. Doesn't change.
Yeah.
You're right. Tom, my friend, great to talk with you. Appreciate your insights on this big game and your thoughts as well, and remembrances of George Raveling, and in so many ways. We appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Larry.
Thanks, buddy. All right, Tom Kaker, once again, HawkeyeReport.com, the big game. Iowa taking on number 16 Iowa State. It is a game high noon Eastern time on Fox on Saturday. All right, stay with us. Much more Sports IQ on the way next. Welcome back here. As we mentioned, we're going to talk a little WNBA as the regular season ends next Thursday night. I'm actually flying tonight to Atlanta for our final show, WNBA on ION, 7 o'clock Eastern tomorrow night. Me, Autumn Johnson, Megan McEwen. We've got a couple of games, Chicago, Indiana, and then New York, Seattle. Boy, a lot of injuries and just games missed. Caitlin Clark, the groin injury. Our schedule set up to where, Tony, we had 8 Indiana Fever games as our Friday night showcase. And if Caitlin doesn't play tomorrow night, and as of this moment, she's not, although we see where she's had some 5-on-0 drills with the Fever, she'll have played only once on Friday night all season long. It's just been tough. And then now Angel Reese may be out, so the whole Caitlin versus Angel game that you thought you're going to see, you're not going to see. But we were saying earlier, she made some comments afterwards that that she's not real happy in Chicago.
No, she made it real clear that this team needs to get better and get better in a hurry and bring in some players to help her out. to make Chicago a contending team. I don't really blame her. That's the kind of competitor you want on your team, somebody who doesn't accept losing. I mean, you look at Angel Reese's career. I don't know her high school numbers. I'm willing to bet she won some state championships and won a ton of ball games. Goes to LSU, she won another ton of ball games. You know, they would win 28, 29, 30 games a year, and she won a national championship. So she's known nothing but winning until she got to the WNBA. Now she's in Chicago, and look, they've struggled both of the last 2 years. You know, missing the playoffs, not being a contending team, that will hurt a competitor. You know, they just have to let it out some way. I don't blame her for complaining. Like, look, we got to be better. We got to find some bodies to put around this and make a run to be one of the better teams in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. It has not been a good year. They've had their moments. They beat Minnesota back in July. That was a big deal with Nafisa Collier playing. By the way, in that Nafisa was injured the next day. They played 2 games. 2 days apart. It was like a Saturday, Monday game. The second game was the one where Nafisa went down and then missed, several games due to injury there. I think it was 7 games she missed in a row. And then they did beat the Liberty. They had a recent win over, but otherwise it's been slim pickings there. And year 1 under Tyler Marr, she's the assistant coming in from Las Vegas, won a pair of titles as an assistant under Becky Hammond, but it has not gone well for him. And so, a lot of question marks now for them. A game, obviously, I'm always going to talk about our games on Friday night, right? Again, Chicago, Indiana, New York is at Seattle, the 2 national games. But the game I'm watching tonight, I'll be turning away or flipping back and forth at least tonight. I know most are watching the Cowboys-Eagles game, but tonight on Prime Video in the WNBA at 10 o'clock Eastern, it is Minnesota and Las Vegas. Now, Minnesota right now, 32-8, 4 games left. They've wrapped up the home court advantage in the playoffs. But Las Vegas is a team that, again, they're a year removed from a couple of championships. They've won 12 in a row, and they have been on fire since the All-Star break. So, the way it does work in the WNBA is that it's not by conference, the playoff bracketing. I mean, they take the top 8 teams. It's 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, et cetera. So right now, if things go the way they stand right now, it would be, Atlanta, possibly Atlanta, Vegas over in one bracket and Minnesota, Phoenix in the other. My point is, it's possible. We'll see how this thing plays out. This could be a WNBA finals preview in terms of it could be Minnesota, Las Vegas in the finals.
Yeah, and it should be a great game tonight. Look, Vegas has been red hot. Once they got everybody healthy and got things clicking and got some of that motion back and that mojo back, they are on fire. They're shooting the 3 ball really well. If you look at some of their box scores last week, they're hitting 8, 9, 10 threes a game, which is always good for the W column. That seems to really kind of pump you up a little bit if you're a basketball fan. And look, Minnesota has just been kind of unstoppable. They've stumbled a few ways, a couple of times here and there, but never a long stretch. And plus, like we talked about, Larry, they've been the healthiest team in the league all season. Yeah. So can you keep that health together? You look, the teams that are making the run have all gotten healthy now. The teams that are struggling down the stretch, the New Yorks, Indiana, they have been the ones who have been beset with injuries and losing player after player. These, the rosters in the WNBA are not very deep, and you can't afford, no league can you really afford to lose star players, a Jonquil Jones, a Breanna Stewart. That's like, an NBA team going in, and if the Bulls had lost Scotty and Michael, you're only going to be so good if all you got is Dennis Rodman leading the way.
Right, exactly. By the way, also the MVP race, 2 of the marquee players in this game tonight in Las Vegas, Nafisa Collier for Minnesota is the prohibitive front runner, though again, the injuries here late in the season, the time she missed has allowed A'ja Wilson to come on, all her 30-point games. She's the reigning MVP, won her 3rd MVP crown award in 5 years. Last season, she's the first WNBA player ever to win 3 in a 5-year span. Now trying to go for her 4th. She's come on strong, but their numbers, Nafisa Collier, 23.5 points per game, 7.5 rebounds. A'ja Wilson, she's averaging 23 and 10 per game. Probably, again, the 2 front runners for the MVP, although Phoenix tonight, they play at Washington. Alyssa Thomas, the walking double, the triple-double, almost had another one the other night. She's at 16, 9, and 9, her averages on the year. So, but again, can't wait to watch that game tonight. I'm going to get to my hotel early enough to make sure I get that on my TV there in Buckhead. All right, the W. Hate to see the season come to an end, but can't wait for the postseason. It's going to be thrilling. Our moment of awe is up next.
Packages start at $29.99 a month with signed agreement. Restrictions apply. Speak to a representative for complete offer details. See Vivint.com for license details. Terms and conditions apply.
Homeowners, if you're looking for the best in home security and smart home technology at a price you can actually afford, we have great news. Now you can get Vivint's award-winning home security systems starting at about $1 a day. U.S. News and World Report has recognized Vivint as the best professionally installed home security system of 2022. And right now, you can get Vivint's home security technology for about $1 a day. Plus, get free professional installation from a licensed technician. Protect your home and loved ones for as low as $1 a day. Call right now for your free home security consultation.
800-613-8053. 800-613-8053. 800-613-8053. That's 800-613-8053.
Okay, time now for a moment of awe. It was on this day back in 1972 when American swimmer Mark Spitz set a record for the most gold medals in an Olympics with 7. It came in the 4x100 medley. Of course, we all know that later Michael Phelps would break that record by winning 8 gold at the Games in Beijing, China in 2008. But it was on this day Mark Spitz made history and carved his name into Olympic legend. That is our moment of awe. Hey, thanks to Tom Kakert of HawkeyeReport.com for stopping by. Thanks to you as well. It's Friday Eve. Let's make it a good one. Football is here. NFL, WNBA. It's a big night. Have fun. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the Sports IQ.
Thanks for listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith, Monday through Friday. Continue the conversation at Sports IQ LS. We'll see you next time.